The following morning, I avoided looking at Derrick, at myself, at anything that might remind me of what I had done or what I had almost done. My marriage, my vows. What was I thinking? But something had changed. The walls I'd carefully built around my emotions had cracks now. Margaret seemed to notice it too. During tea, she asked,
"You all right?"
"Just tired," I lied. She gave me a knowing look. Some truths don't come in words. They come in silences we're not ready to break. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Later that night, I received a call from Eric's assistant.
"Ma'am, Mr. Matthews won't be back this week. His trip's extended."
I didn't even flinch. A month into our marriage, and I felt more alone than I had when I was single. That night, I stayed up thinking about everything. My cold marriage, Margaret's pain, Derrick's quiet strength. I wasn't sure what I wanted anymore. The next day, I saw Derrick in the garden, helping Rachel lift flower pots. When he noticed me, he looked away. Good. He felt it too, the weight of the unspoken. But that evening, he left a note by my bedside.
"You're not alone, even if you feel like you are."
My hands trembled. What did he mean? Did he want something more? Or was this just comfort? Compassion? The guilt was mounting, but so was the longing. I called my best friend, Laura. I needed someone neutral. I told her everything. There was a pause. "Alina," she said gently, "maybe it's not about Derrick. Maybe it's about you finally waking up to a life that doesn't feel real. You've been abandoned, emotionally, physically. That kind of emptiness makes anyone search for warmth. But I'm married. Marriage without love is just a contract," she replied. Her words shook me. I hung up and cried for the first time in weeks. The next night, I asked Derrick to come in, not to touch me, not to comfort me, just to sit. And he did. We sat in silence, side by side on the edge of the bed. Two broken people under the same roof, saying nothing and yet sharing everything. The days that followed were quieter, but something had shifted. Not just in me, but in the air around the house. I avoided looking at Derrick directly, but his presence felt amplified, like my senses were suddenly attuned to every step he took, every glance he threw my way. Margaret noticed too.
"You've been awfully quiet lately,"
she said one evening, while sipping tea in the lounge. "Just tired," I replied, not meeting her eyes. She stared at me for a long moment.
"Be careful, Alina. Not all connections are meant to be acted on. Some are just meant to teach us who we really are."
Was that a warning? Or her way of saying she knew more than she let on? That night, I dreamt of Derrick. Not in a romantic way, but in the dream. He was rescuing me. From what? I didn't know. But I woke up with my heart racing. Later that week, I received a call from an unknown number.
"Mrs. Matthews, this is Detective Harris. I'm calling about an investigation involving your husband."
My heart skipped a beat. What kind of investigation?
"I'd rather speak in person. Are you available tomorrow morning?"
The call left me shaken. Eric hadn't returned, hadn't even checked in since the last time we spoke. I felt a mix of worry and something else, something I hated admitting. Relief? The next morning, Detective Harris arrived. A calm, sharp-eyed man in his 40s, he sat across from me in the formal living room.
"I'll get straight to the point. We've been monitoring Mr. Matthews for suspected financial fraud involving offshore accounts. He may be facing serious charges."
I stared at him, stunned. "You think Eric is involved in something illegal?"
"It's more than a suspicion. We have enough to freeze his assets. I suggest you prepare yourself. Things might get difficult.
After he left, I sat in silence, trying to absorb the news. The mansion, the comfort, the quiet luxury. It was all built on shaky ground. And suddenly, everything felt like it might collapse. Derrick found me sitting in the hallway that evening, my knees pulled to my chest.
Miss Alina?
He said softly. I looked up, my eyes wet.
I don't know who I am anymore.
He sat beside me, not touching me, just close enough to feel his warmth.
You're someone trying to figure it out. That's more than most people ever do.
I turned to him. Do you ever wish things were different?
All the time.
We didn't kiss. We didn't touch. But in that moment, it felt like a choice was made. A line had been drawn, and I wasn't sure which side I was standing on. 3 days later, Derrick came back. Unannounced. I heard the sound of his suitcase wheels before I saw him. He looked tired, disheveled, even. His usual arrogance was dimmed, but not gone. Hey, he said, stepping into the foyer. I stood still. You didn't tell me you were coming.
I didn't know myself. Things got messy.
He kissed my cheek like nothing had changed. We need to talk. We sat across from each other in the living room. Derrick passed through quietly, offering coffee. Derrick didn't acknowledge him. I've been contacted by someone from the investigation, I said calmly, watching his face. He didn't flinch. It's nothing I can't handle. You've lied to me.
I protected you.
He snapped.
You don't understand how this world works, Alina. I did what I had to.
No, Derrick. You did what you wanted. And now we're all going to pay for it. There was silence. He ran a hand through his hair.
You're different, Alina.
I've had to be, I replied. That night I couldn't sleep. I stood at the balcony, staring into the dark garden. Derrick was there, trimming the plants under the moonlight. He glanced up and saw me. We didn't speak, but something passed between us, a quiet understanding. The next morning, Rachel rushed into my room, breathless. Ma'am, something's wrong with Margaret. I ran to her room. She was on the floor, barely conscious. Call the doctor! Derrick was already at her side, lifting her gently onto the bed. After what felt like hours, the doctor arrived.
High blood pressure. Brought on by stress, she'll need rest and monitoring.
I stayed by Margaret's bedside that night. She opened her eyes briefly and whispered,
Don't let the house eat you alive, like it did me.
Her words pierced deeper than I expected. Later, as I walked back to my room, I found Derrick in the hallway.
We're selling the property and leaving the country.
What?
Pack whatever you need, we're starting over, somewhere quieter.
He made it sound like an adventure, like a new beginning, but it didn't feel like one. It felt like running away. Derrick, I'm not going with you, I said. His eyes darkened.
Don't be ridiculous. I'm done pretending.
He scoffed.
What, you're staying for him?
What? I'm staying. For me, I said firmly. He stared at me, stunned.
You'll regret this.
Maybe. But at least it'll be my choice. And with that, I walked away.